Sodom and Gomorrah, the brutal truth of God's fury 2025 film exposing the shocking secrets now. The sun dipped low over the horizon, casting long shadows across the scorched landscape, where ancient stories whispered like the wind. The air felt thick with secrets that could burn from the inside out. Right on the cusp of a global revelation, an ominous cloud hung like a dark curtain, waiting to drop and expose the raw, brutal truth of humanity's greatest sins. This was not just a film, it was a reckoning, a stark unveiling of what truly happened in those two fabled cities, driven deep into our collective consciousness. In the little town of Prairie Pines, nestled far from the cities during a summer heatwave, the local buzz had reached fever pitch. People were gathering at the dilapidated old theater, where rumors of special screenings of this film had taken on a life of their own. It wasn't just a movie to them, it was a path to understanding, to unearth a mystery buried in time. Chilling anecdotes of strange sightings and unexplainable occurrences stirred the townsfolk. Some claimed they had seen visions glowing in the darkness of the night, otherworldly figures flickering at the edge of their perception, making their skin prickle with both fear and intrigue. As the townspeople took their seats, the anticipation crackled like electric tension in the sweltering air. Then it happened. A flash of light, brighter than any bulb had a right to be, illuminated the room. Gasps ricocheted off the walls. The projector whirred to life, casting images that could only be described as grotesque and divine in equal measure. Faces of long-lost souls flicked across the screen, eyes wide and pleading, urging the living to grasp the weight of the past. Yet, just as the darkness deepened and the very foundations of their beliefs trembled, a chilling hush fell. A figure cloaked in shadows appeared at the back of the theater, lingering, watching, as if assessing the audience's reactions, an unsettling presence that sent icy fingers dancing down spines. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure's presence intensified the air, and the audience shifted uncomfortably. What dark revelations were to come? What connections could be made between their modern lives and the echoed sins of the past? With every passing second, the tension thickened, leaving each heart hammering in anticipation. Suddenly, the screen flickered, a burst of fire erupted, reminding everyone of the cautionary tales part of their upbringing. Whispers began to flood the aisles, a mixture of disbelief and fear curling through the room. Just as eyes widened and mouths gasped, the lights flickered, plunging the theater into chaos. Was it an accident, or something more sinister? They needed answers, but deep down, a darker truth was brewing, one that might reveal not only the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah, but their own. How far would they go to uncover what lay beneath? The flickering lights danced wildly around the theater, and in the moment of darkness, fear gripped the hearts of the audience. It wasn't just a blackout, it felt like a descent into something far more sinister. The low hum of static vibrated in their ears, mingling with hushed breaths and tightening throats as the shadows appeared to close in, each flicker of light revealing more than just the film. It unveiled the raw emotions of dread that plagued them all. Then, the projection resumed, but something was undeniably different. The images that danced across the screen morphed, twisting into grotesque forms that mirrored the darkest corners of their own souls. Faces contorted in agony flashed by. People, real people who had lived not so long ago, their lives cut short by choices they made, sins they committed in the quiet of the night. Curses seemed to echo through the theater, a cacophony of whispers converting into chilling screams that reverberated in the recesses of their minds. Is this real? A voice broke through the fear, echoing the collective doubt gripping the audience. An older gentleman, his brow furrowed in confusion, pointed towards the screen. This can't be, but the images begged to differ. The tales of Sodom and Gomorrah came to life, flashes of fire and brimstone painting a vivid, terrifying picture of destruction. A flicker of familiarity swept through the room, an unearthing of subconscious guilt that lingered on their shoulders. Here they sat, innocent and unsettled, while the ghosts of these ancient cities decried the sins of their own community, their own lives. Suddenly, the temperature in the room plummeted, sending chills racing across the skin of every moviegoer. The figure in the back, still shrouded in shadows, stepped forward into the fading light. It was a woman, her eyes burning with a fierce intensity, piercing through the mounting dread. "You're not here by chance," she breathed, her voice a low whisper that cascaded through the rows. "This is your reckoning." Fear turned to panic. People began to rise from their seats, murmuring, glancing nervously at each other. "What does she mean?" A voice quivered. "Who is she?" As the audience surged toward the exits, the screen displayed a radiant beam of light piercing through an inky black sky. It highlighted the chaos, the struggles, the very real consequences born from collective silence and ignorance. The figure continued, her gaze unyielding. "They want you to remember, to change before it's too late." Then, in an instant, the room was plunged into total darkness once more. Heartbeats thudded like war drums, fear escalating to desperate panic. It was as if the universe had pressed pause on reality, and then, a flash of light, an explosion, blinding and consuming. Everyone stumbled back, bracing for impact. When the illumination faded, they found themselves back in their seats, the projection gone. Silence hung thick in the air. The theater appeared unchanged, yet, an unseen weight suppressed every breath. Did that just happen? Someone whispered, trembling, but the answer remained locked in their minds. The townsfolk exchanged wary glances, an unspoken understanding forming between them. They realized, this was only the beginning. As they filed outside, the warmth of the summer night felt surreal against the chill of the revelation. Each person carried the heavy burden of introspection, whispers morphing into louder voices expressing fears of impending doom. What truths were hidden beneath the veneer of their everyday lives? The shadows seemed to follow them into the night, daring them to uncover more, challenging them to dive deeper into the moral abyss revealed that evening. But the darkest question loomed: what price were they willing to pay to unveil the truth? In that small town of Prairie Pines, the line between history and the present blurred, threatening to unravel their entire existence. Without warning, a cacophony of distant sirens pierced the stillness of the night, a jarring reminder that some truths were not just tales of old, they were very much alive, breathing and waiting to be confronted. The question hung in the air, electrifying with urgency. What secrets awaited them in the darkness? A haunting silence enveloped Prairie Pines as the audience spilled out onto the cracked pavement, each step echoing with uncertainty. The weight of what they witnessed lingered in their minds like oppressive fog, mixing with the warm summer air, stifling their breaths. No one spoke, they were swallowed in their thoughts, unable to shake the visceral images burned into their memories. "Did you see those faces?" A woman finally gasped, breaking through the tense quiet. Her voice trembled like a fragile leaf, shaking with fear. "What did it mean?" "I don't know," a young man replied, his brows knitted tightly as he glanced back at the theater, shadows flickering against the building's exterior. "But something's not right. We need to figure this out." As if on cue, a distant wail of sirens grew louder. The sound fractured the stillness, sending a ripple of dread through the crowd. They exchanged hurried glances, each pondering whether there was a connection between the film's broadcast and this strange disturbance. "Where do you think they're going?" Someone whispered, pointing as bright red and blue lights danced along the horizon. The sirens echoed through the night, twisting into chaotic shrills that merged with the anxiety palpable in the air. "It's the church," a voice chimed in. A tall man stepped forward. "I heard Old Man Harris shouting about something. Said a fire broke out." "What?" the young man exclaimed, disbelief washing over his face. "A fire?" "Yeah, at the old community center, just a few blocks away." With adrenaline flooding their veins, the townsfolk began to move, a collective decision made without words. They rushed toward the center, drawn forward by an unshakable instinct to confront whatever darkness was unraveling in their small town. As they rounded the corner, a nightmarish sight awaited them. Flames twisted and danced against the midnight sky, chunks of wood crackled, silhouetted by the fiery glow. Yelling contradicted the roaring inferno as figures surged toward the scene, grappling with hoses, putting their bodies on the line. "Why is this happening?" the woman from earlier exclaimed, horror etched across her face, as she took in the chaos. "This can't be happenstance," someone whispered, eyes wide, darting around nervously. "After that film it's like the past is coming back for us." A chill crept down the young man's spine. He turned to his neighbors, who were equally transfixed by the conflagration. His throat tightened, the weight of the woman's words refusing to let go. What if the film was a warning? What if we ignored something before he could finish? A loud crash resonated from the building, followed by frantic shouts. The flames were relentless, devouring everything in sight, and behind the bright fire, a darker truth loomed, a truth that did not just belong to the past. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the flames, a silhouette engulfed in smoke and shadows. The crowd recoiled instinctively. "Get back!" someone yelled, eyes wide with alarm. But the figure persisted, stepping from the blaze, revealing itself as the very woman from the theater. Her clothes were singed, ash streaked across her face, yet her eyes burned with an unsettling fervor, as if they contained the secrets of the universe. "You're here," she rasped, her voice hoarse, yet echoing with a mysterious urgency. "It's not over. This is where you must choose." The weight of her words hung heavy in the air, vibrating through their bones. The crossroads had come to light in front of them. Panic rippled through the gathered crowd as they wrestled with fear and curiosity. "Choose what?" a voice shouted, desperation creeping into the tone. The woman raised her hand, the flickering flames casting eerie shadows across her features. "To remember or to be forgotten." With her words, the reality of their situation solidified, the collective realization gripping them like a vice. Beneath the blazing sky, as the fire crackled and fury blazed, they stood on the precipice of revelation and doom. Anguish surged through them. What truth would emerge from there? Choices. What happened next would echo in the hearts of prairie pines forever. Would they rise up against the past, or let the shadows consume them? The crowd was frozen, their gazes locked on the woman who had stepped from the fire like a specter. She stood there, defiant, holding the weight of their fears in her hands. "What do you mean to remember?" the young man asked, his voice barely a whisper, choking on confusion and dread. His heart pounded, each beat a reminder of the stark reality surrounding them. The woman's eyes flickered with intensity. "You have to face it. The truth buried beneath the ashes of this town, buried beneath your silence. If you don't confront what you've tried to forget, it will consume you." As she spoke, thick black smoke billowed around her, twisting in the air like tortured spirits. The scent of burnt wood mixed with the sharpness of fear, an acrid reminder of the destruction unraveling before their eyes. "Why should we trust you?" another voice called from the back, hands balling into fists. The tone was one of anger, laced with an almost instinctual suspicion. "You're the one who came out of the flames like a damn ghost." "Trust isn't what you need," she replied, her voice suddenly steady and commanding. "What you need is resolve. The fire only reveals what has lain dormant for so long. Shadows cannot hide forever." Skepticism and dread fought for dominance among the townsfolk, but deep down, a seed of truth had been planted. The night, heavy with smoke and silence, pulsed with an electric tension. "What should we remember?" pleaded the woman from earlier, her voice trembling but determined. "What happened here? Look into your hearts," the woman implored, the glow of flames illuminating her face in a halo of chaos. "Find the moments you've buried. The laughter, the losses. They cling to you like the smoke in the air. It's all connected, and it's time to bring it to light." Around the fire, people whispered to each other, fear and realization blending together, igniting anger in some and sorrow in others. Eyes that had once turned away from each other began to meet, the cracked pavement beneath their feet a reminder of what had been lost and what needed to be found. But before the torrent of emotions could scatter their fragile resolve, a loud crash echoed anew, jarring the group. They turned as more of the aging community center crumbled, a plume of flames reaching into the sky, ominously framing the gathering. The mysterious woman stepped closer, her expression fierce. "You have to decide now. Will you stand together, united against your past, or will you let it consume you, one ember at a time?" She was no longer just a figure of strange hope but a torchbearer, illuminating the path of their collective fate. But just as hope ignited within them, the ground quaked subtly, as if a beast was waking beneath the surface. What was that? Someone shouted, their voice trembling with renewed fear. A rumbling steadily grew, and the fiery glow cast shadows that stretched and darted across the group in a grotesque dance. The air thickened with uncertainty and urgency. They had to act. But what would that action be? "Gather together." The young man shouted, taking a decisive step forward. "Whatever happens, we have to face it together. We can't let our fear dictate our choices anymore." But would they follow him, or would they fall back into complacency? As the ground trembled again, a shadow moved behind the flames, a dark figure lurking just out of sight, waiting and watching. What lay ahead remained unfathomable, like the darkness blanketing the forest beyond the town. Would they stand united against what was to come, or would they fracture under the pressure, letting the darkness once again take hold? Each breath felt like a countdown, and the time for choice was fading fast. The ground shook violently, a maddening dance of cracks branching out beneath their feet. People stumbled, clutching at each other for support, their wide eyes mirroring the frantic flickers of the firelight. The mysterious woman stood firm, her hair whipping in an unseen wind, defiant against the chaos. "Stay together," she shouted, her voice piercing through the rising panic. "Fear feeds on division. Do not let it win." The young man, emboldened by her words, moved toward the crowd. "We can't let this history divide us any longer." His heart raced, adrenaline coursed through him. He wasn't one for speeches, but he knew unity was their only salvation. Someone from the back shouted, "But what if we're not ready to face it? What if we reveal something that should be stayed buried?" The question hung in the air, an unwelcome fog settling over their resolve. Better to burn away the lies now than let them smolder in the dark. The woman yelled, the fire reflecting in her eyes, transforming her into something almost otherworldly. With an audible crack, another part of the building collapsed, sending embers spiraling like angry fireflies into the night sky. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. It was a physical reminder of their fragile situation, a symbol of how easily their reality could crumble. A flicker of doubt bristled in the air as the rumbling intensified. People began to murmur amongst themselves, old grievances resurfaced with voices raised in fear. "We can't let our past tear us apart." The young man's voice rang out again, stronger this time, emboldened by his growing sense of purpose. "Look around. We need each other." But a retreating figure stood like a specter at the back, melting into the shadows. "This is all a trap. You don't know what's really down there." They were words dripping with dread, and the crowd fell silent for a moment, every breath caught in the air as fear blossomed anew. Beyond the flickering flames, a silhouette loomed, a dark figure silently observing. The woman shifted her gaze, her stance now defensive. "Whatever is coming, we will face it together," she declared, conviction radiating from her. "We cannot let our fears twist us into something unrecognizable." As she spoke, a crack echoed ominously through the air, and fire hissed at the mounting tension. With each heartbeat, the eyes of the townsfolk turned towards the looming figure, fidgeting with anticipation and dread. "Is it a spirit?" someone whispered, "or something worse?" The sound of heavy footsteps thudded, one after another. The shadow was no longer just lurking, it was stepping forward, its form becoming discernible, a hulking presence wreathed in flames and shadow. Fear seized everyone's hearts, squeezing tightly like a vice, then, with a throat-chilling growl, it launched forward, propelled by an unrelenting rage. The crowd erupted into a frenzy, bodies pressed against bodies as people scrambled to escape the encroaching terror. Together. The woman shouted again, her arms lifted, summoning courage, hope, and defiance. Stand together. We face it together. But doubt clawed at the edges of the young man's mind. Would they truly unite against this looming darkness, or let it separate them one last time? The grasp of the shadow loomed larger, descending like a dark curtain on a tragic play. And just as despair threatened to take them, the air crackled. A brilliant flash erupted from the woman's hands, a surge of light piercing through the night. Was it hope or another secret? Did she have the power to confront the darkness, or was it just an illusion? The air thickened with possibility and urgency. They had moments to make their choice. Everyone felt at the pulse of the unknown and the heavy weight of the moment. Would they rally, rise, and battle this entity threatening to destroy them? Or would they let fear govern them yet again? The shadows whispered as the light flickered, a clash of potent forces poised on the precipice of destiny. Would this be their moment of reckoning or a plunge into deeper madness? As the darkness lunged forth, time spiraled, pregnant with uncertainty. The final choice was upon them, and the next move was teetering on the edge of oblivion. The blinding flash erupted, illuminating the chaos like a sudden dawn. Eyes widened as shadows receded, revealing the hulking figure, caught momentarily in the light. Its features twisted into a grotesque mask of rage, fangs snapping, flames licking its edges. Gasps echoed throughout the crowd, a collection of fear-stricken breaths hung in the air. Back! Retreat! Someone screamed, and panic swept through the masses like a wave crashing against a fragile shoreline. But the woman, her presence unwavering, stood at the forefront, a beacon of resilience against the storm. Hear me! She shouted, the light from her hands shimmering in urgency. We will not let darkness define us. Unity is our weapon. Her voice quivered, but underneath it all was a steeliness that ignited something deep inside the crowd. The young man felt the pulse of courage surge through his veins. We were forged from this land. Together, we can reclaim it. But doubt still flickered like the flames around them. A few took steps back, eyes darting toward the shadows, whispers passing like an infectious disease. What if this rage is part of our past? What if it knows our secrets? A deep rumble reverberated from the monstrous figure, a sound filled with centuries of pain. Flames danced at its feet, licking hungrily at the ground, as if yearning to devour all in its path. The woman turned to him, her eyes burning with conviction. We confront our demons, not flee. There can be no healing without facing the truth. Stand firm. The young man nodded, heart thumping against his ribcage, the urge to flee warring with an almost primal instinct to fight. The crowd was still, each breath now a shared heartbeat, the air heavy with tension. Together. He called, urging them on. We share this burden. This darkness is born of our stories, the pain we've all carried. The sweeping shadows seemed to momentarily falter, hesitation creeping into the creature's menacing strides. The light from the woman flickered, illuminating faces twisted in uncertainty and resolve. Remember, what unites us is far greater, she urged, as bright tendrils of light curled around her body, flowing ominously like living flames. We will not fight each other, we will fight this. Those words hung in the air as the monstrous figure hesitated, triggered by the combined weight of their shared fears. But then, with a roar like thunder, it lunged again, a tempest of dark flames rushing toward them. Now! The woman's voice rang out, echoing against the walls of their collective dread. The light from her hands burst forth, a dazzling wave crashing against the darkness in that moment. Everything spun, screams mingled with roars, the crackle of fiery energy mingling with the gasps of the crowd. It was disorienting, electric. The two forces collided like titans, every heart pounding in sync with the chaos. Just as the crowd braced for impact, a bright flash enveloped them, spilling warmth across their fears, like the triumphant dawn after a savage night. Could they harness this brilliance? Could they emerge from the apocalypse with their truth laid bare, bathed in light, then, as the din quieted momentarily, a chilling laughter echoed deep, throaty, unyielding. An echo of something familiar, something long buried. What foolishness! It sneered. Do you think you know yourself? A silence fell as fear crashed down upon them again. They hadn't just awakened a beast, they had unearthed the very heart of their hidden anguish. Was the battle truly external, or merely a manifestation of their inner turmoil? The path to freedom was growing obscured by lingering shadows of doubt and dread. Fight! The woman yelled again, her fire now a force to be reckoned with. Fight not just against it, but for each other. Suddenly, an unexpected flicker of light broke through the shadowy haze the figure struck, flames leaping high, hungry for despair. Would they summon the courage to rally, or would they retreat into the echo of whispers that threatened to drown them in chaos? As the struggle escalated, one thing became alarmingly clear: this battle was just the beginning. What other truths would rise from the ashes? And then came the question that lay heavy in the air, threading uncertainty and fear through their veins: would they confront their demons, or allow them to consume everything they held dear? The ground shook beneath their feet, the ominous laughter lingering like a dark cloud overhead. The monstrous figure loomed, towering over them, an embodiment of fear itself. Flames flickered dangerously at its feet, tendrils of heat curling violently as if responding to the trepidation radiating from the crowd. Don't falter. The woman's voice split the tension like a knife. She remained defiantly rooted, radiating warmth that peeled away layers of dread and encouraging them to stand their ground. But glimpses of uncertainty hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Are we truly brave enough to face this? Someone whispered from the back, eyes wide, voice trembling. The question seeped like poison through the gathered mass. The woman caught the gaze of the young man. Their eyes held a shared resolve, but uncertainty screamed louder within her. It thrives on fear. She called, her voice steadying. We must take that fear and turn it into strength. Together. He stepped forward, heart racing. Together. We are more than our past. We can blaze through this darkness. The passion in his words ignited a flicker of hope. The creature jerked violently, recognizing the shift despite its fury. It turned, a hellish snarl stretching its jaw. Seizing the moment, the woman thrust her light forward again, white-hot and blazing. It surged like a tidal wave, crashing against the dark figure, illuminating the twisted features of wrath that twisted further into a grimace, but in the heartbeat pause that followed, confusion settled like a thick fog. The light receded, revealing not just the beast, but the fears that brewed within the crowd. Visions of regret, loss, and betrayal glimmered in the glowing embers of the battle, a reflection of their own pain. Faces contorted with unarticulated grief, a shared reflection of internal demons that each one bore. The crowd grew still, voices turned to whispers filled with doubt. What if it's more than just a beast? What if it's a mirror, a piece of us? As if feeding off their trepidation, the monstrous entity laughed again, an abhorrent symphony mocking their inner turmoil. You think you're united? Bind, and you will break. You only wish to escape. Their unity faltered, fear creeping back like a chilling mist. The woman sensed it. No. Look. Remember the light we wield. Each of us reflects that strength. Do not let it dictate our truth. Yet before she could anchor their resolve, the creature lunged once more, a howling tempest of flame barreling straight for them. The young man's heart sank. They were seconds away from annihilation. Protect each other. He shouted, lunging into action, arms outstretched toward the approaching darkness. The moment felt both slow and feverishly fast, as if the world was holding its breath. In that crucial instant, the woman's hands ignited once more, pooling into a blazing shield of warmth and light. Now! She shouted, and a surge of radiant energy rippled through them, connecting every soul like a vibrant thread woven from shared experience. Then, the unearthly roar met the solid wall of light. The blast shattered the silence, a shockwave that shook the crowd, forcing gasps and cries into the air like scattered leaves in a storm. They braced together, souls entwined in vulnerability and strength. The explosion of energy lit up the night, illuminating not just the monstrous figure, but the paths of vulnerability each person held. As flames screamed against the protective shield, cracks formed, and fragments of darkness flickered. Would their unity be enough to hold this chaos at bay? Then, where there was once dread, an idea ignited in the woman's mind. If this monster feeds on our fears, what if we offered it something else? The realization hit her with the force of a tidal wave. Would they be ready to face the truth even if it could unleash horrors they were unprepared to confront? The beast, still raging, hesitated as if sensing the shift within them. The moment shimmered with possibility, but the suspense crackled like the violent electricity in the atmosphere. What would happen if they stripped away the layers of their agony and offered it hope instead? Would that alter the course of their fate, or summon an even greater horror? The ground trembled, shuddering with the weight of the creature's fury. But now, a new kind of energy pulsed through the crowd, a mingling of fear and courage, like fire meeting ice. The woman felt the warmth of hope bloom within her. Together, let us offer it our collective hope, she cried, her voice slicing through the rising tension. Hope. Came a voice from the back, laced with skepticism. What do we have left to hope for? But she ignored the doubt, focusing instead on the flickering flames of light that danced around them. There is power in our desire for a better tomorrow. Her heart raced, synchronizing with the crowd's pulse as she led them, spirits intertwined, bound by a single thread of resilience. The monstrous figure paused mid-lunge, its fiery eyes narrowing with incredulity. It seemed confused, momentarily unsteady, as if the idea of hope was a foreign concept. The young man shifted closer to the woman, determination knitting his brow. Let our story drown out its laughter. We've endured too much to surrender now. As the beast lurched forward again, she could feel the heat intensify. The darkness pressed against their shield, seeking to devour them whole. Picture your hopes, your dreams. Hold on to them tightly. Suddenly, one by one, faces in the crowd brightened. People began to whisper their hopes aloud, a mother longing for her lost child, a soldier missing the peace of home, a daughter yearning for her father's warmth. The words flowed like a river, rushing toward the beast, a deluge of light shattering the shadows lingering in the air. The woman's shield glowed brilliantly, a merging of souls creating an indescribable force. The creature staggered back, letting out a guttural roar that pressed against the very core of their being. It writhed under the weight of their hopes, each pulse of warmth pushing back against the threat. Yet then came a thought, darker and insidious. What if hope is just a fragile dream? What if it's not enough? The idea seeped through her defenses, feeding her doubts. Would hope be sufficient against such monstrous wrath? Focus. The young man urged, gently squeezing her hand. It's not just the words, it's all of us. We stand together. With renewed vigor, she closed her eyes. Images of love and unity swirled in her mind, the villagers holding hands, a father embracing his daughter, friends laughing under the sun. They weren't just individuals, they were a community waiting for a breakthrough. As their collective energy surged, the creature let out an anguished shriek. It recoiled, tattered and frayed, as if the weight of their hope was ripping apart its dark veil. The flames around it flickered uncertainly, losing strength, their shield of light expanded, growing stronger with each shared hope, each scattered dream. The beast, once a formidable monster, now seemed smaller amidst the explosion of luminescence, struggling to keep its form intact against the brilliance. But just as victory seemed within reach, the creature unleashed a final, earth-shattering scream. It was a primal sound, one that tore through their thoughts and shook the very fabric of their hearts. You think your chance will save you? It howled, its voice laced with sheer rage. You are nothing without your darkest truths. A chilling realization crawled through the crowd. Had they truly stripped away all their fears? Had they unwittingly invited greater demons to the surface? Before anyone could respond, the beast surged forward one last time, breaking through their light, scorching the earth, and making them question what was more dangerous, the monster before them, or the shadows lurking within themselves. The air crackled with uncertainty. The ground beneath quaked, forcing them to reconsider everything they had just conjured. Would they find the strength to delve further into those depths, or would the light flicker out in the face of overwhelming darkness? As the flames roared to life once more, there was no turning back. The earth shook violently as the creature struck through the radiant shield, sending shockwaves of fear rippling through the crowd. The brilliant light flickered like a candle caught in a storm, struggling against the fierce winds of darkness unleashed upon them. The woman stumbled back, the grip of the young man strong and grounding. "We have to confront it," she shouted, the urgency in her voice competing with the beast's fury. Dread gripped her heart as she saw the anxious expressions etched on the faces surrounding her. "Confront it?" someone whispered, voice trembling. "Are we not just inviting more pain?" "No," she shouted back, desperation igniting her resolve. "We're bringing our truth to the surface. We must not cower in fear. It's time to stare it in the face." Bounding forward, the young man pulled her along. Fear coursed through her veins, yet a strange exhilaration took hold too. She could feel the energy of those around them shifting, teetering on the brink of collective despair or courageous resolve. "Let it hear you," he urged, his voice a beacon. "All of you, your truths. Say what you fear the most." The people, uncertain but willing, began to speak. Their voices trembled as they confessed raw secrets, regrets, losses, haunting memories that troubled their sleep. Each word fell into the chill of the air, sharp as glass, reverberating against the face of the malevolent force. I let my family down," came a voice, breaking through the din. "I could have saved them. I'm terrified of never being enough." Another cried, shaking with emotion. Suddenly, the creature paused, its form undulating as if the confessions were like heat waves striking against ice. Shadows caressed its body, twisting around its limbs. Was it faltering? "Keep going," urged the woman, her voice rising above the crackles of despair. "Don't stop. Share the darkness that binds you." The confessions turned into a roar, an uproar of vulnerability. Someone cried out, "I'm afraid of failing." And others followed suit. "I am ashamed. I've felt unloved my whole life. I fear I'm nothing." With each confession layering over the other, the creature's body cracked and flickered. A torrent of darkness fought against their revelations, but it was as if the truth was an unstoppable force, raw, powerful, and utterly defiant against the shadows. The air buzzed with emotions, rippling like water as they unleashed their deepest fears. It was not just a ritual of submission, it was a celebration of their humanity, fragile yet unstoppable in the face of adversity. Yet, just as hope began to thread itself through their shared truths, the beast roared back with a deafening sound. The earth split beneath them, smoke swirling from cracks like angry spirits seeking liberation. "You think vulnerability makes you strong?" it bellowed, eyes blazing like molten fire. The creature's voice seemed to seep into their souls, wrapping around them like chains. "Your weaknesses will be your downfall." The woman clutched her heart, doubts flooding back. What if that monster was right? What if exposing their fears only made them more susceptible to the creature's wrath? Then, amidst the chaos, she caught sight of the young man. His eyes were fierce flames reflected in their depths. "We're already standing here," he shouted, unwavering against the chaos. "We're alive. This is our choice." Suddenly, the crowd took a breath together, exhaling doubts and inhaling courage. Each heartbeat pulsed in unison, creating a symphony of resilience that reverberated in the air. Together, they faced the creature again. Would truth be their sword, or would it cut them deeper? One thing remained certain, the moment of reckoning was at hand. Was this the beginning of an awakening for their collective spirits, or the last gasp before their light extinguished forever? The walls of despair were crumbling, but would conviction shine through the cracks, or lead to their ultimate destruction? The roar of the creature echoed through the night, a sound filled with centuries of pain, mingling with fresh fear. The monstrous figure shifted, flames dancing wildly around it. It was chaos incarnate, but at the same time, that chaos was a crucible, forcing the townspeople to confront the depths of their fears. Keep going. Let it all out. The woman's voice pierced through the dark, rallying the crowd even as shadows loomed large. This is the moment. Speak your truths. With her urging, the confessions bubbled to the surface, unabashed and raw. I've carried hatred in my heart. Came a voice from the thrumming mass, quaking with admission. I was too afraid to let it go. The words shot through the air like arrows, hitting the creature with the weight of their revelation. I failed my family. A tearful woman cried, clenching her fists. I thought that silence was kindness. The creature hissed, flickering at the impact of the confessions. The energy shifted, they felt it crackle in the air. People started to speak louder, daring to expose their bitter truths, their buried pains. I'm ashamed of who I am. Shouted another, the phrase spiraling into echoes of shared pain. I fear being forgotten, came another, softer but firm, like the wind whistling through the trees. Each word was a strike against the dark figure, each confession a shard of light breaking through its suffocating presence. The momentum shifted, hearts beat as one, a thunderous rhythm of truth reverberating like a living pulse. But then silence crept in, slithering like an unwanted shadow, feeding on doubt. But what if truth opens gateways to more pain? Someone questioned, the fear palpable. No. The woman shouted, bolstering her emotion against the crushing weight of uncertainty. Truth is the key to liberation. It won't destroy, it will build. We're more than these shadows. A collective breath hung in the air, every heart racing, gripping onto that flicker of hope. The creature recoiled from the intensity, as if burning away beneath the brilliance of their shared vulnerability. In that moment, doubt retreated. Together, they leaned into their fear and pushed against the tide of oppression. We are not alone. They shouted, voices rising in a chorus, melding in unity, a wave crashing against the encroaching darkness. The woman stepped forward, raising her hands high, her fingers shimmering as she channeled their hope into a bright beam of light. Let our shared story illuminate the path ahead. Our pain has shaped us, but it does not define us. As if her words were a clarion call, more hands shot up, more voices joined in. I choose love over fear. I choose to remember the laughter over the sorrow. With every proclamation, the light expanded, bathing the scene, dissolving the shadows inch by inch. The creature writhed, a furious howl escaping its maw as the combined force of their truths ignited a conflagration that rippled outwards. It was both a tear of anguish and defeat, transforming the battle into a tumult of fiery colors, beauty and rage entwined. Yet still, the creature lunged, darting through the light, seeking to snuff it out. You think this light will last? It growled, malevolent fury crackling in its eyes. Time momentarily distorted, trapping everyone in the clutches of uncertainty, as thoughts spiraled into the maelstrom of chaos. Then the young man surged forward, pushing against the tide with newfound determination. We can't let it win. We will face it. We will face our truths. In that pivotal moment of clarity, the woman felt the energy of the crowd surge. Their shared strength fused into a shield, pulsating with newfound light, hope distilled from shared suffering, illuminating the darkness. And then, like a beacon, they channeled everything, every painful memory, every bitterness balanced by love and triumph. The creature faltered, the fire around it flickering in response. What is this power? It challenged, anger and uncertainty clashing violently. Their voices rose higher, sharper, resonating with the bonds they shared. This is our collective strength. They shouted, a wave of sound that crashed against the looming threat like a tidal wave against crumbling cliffs. As the light surged, the crowd held hands, locking arms in solidarity, creating a formidable barrier against the encroaching darkness. Their illumination intensified, a radiant swirl that enveloped the creature, squeezing against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Together, we will forge our destiny. The woman declared, flooding the space with hope and courage. In that climactic burst, the light swallowed the creature and its shadows whole. Laughter mingled with cries of anguish, twisting through the air like ribbons of fire before it shattered against the weight of their collective courage. With one final eruption of brilliance, the dark figure imploded, scattering like ashes across the evening sky. The silence that followed was thunderous, the kind that filled the void with weightless possibility. One by one, they slowly released their grips on each other, breaths coming easier now, a shared relief washing over the crowd. They stood together, eyes wide, hearts full, feeling the cascading warmth wash over them like a long-forgotten embrace. The ember-filled sky above twinkled with stars, witnesses to their truth woven in unity. They gazed at each other, no longer just neighbors but a tapestry of experience, interwoven with understanding. They were changed. The shadows fled, leaving echoes of hope in their wake, a light they carry forward. And underneath the stars, a healing began. As they slowly turned to leave, a feeling of grief and joy intertwined in their hearts. They understood now the buried truths that once constrained them were seeds for growth, not shackles of despair, and while the scars of the past would remain, together they navigate the journey beyond them. This moment marked a new chapter for Prairie Pines, an awakening that lit the path ahead, and as the last echoes of their battle faded into the night, they made a promise not only to themselves but to each other, to carry this light, to remember, and to never forget. Before they parted, the woman, still standing tall, raised her voice filled with conviction, "Never walk this path alone. We survived this together." In her eyes sparkled the hope of countless tomorrows. And in the warmth of that summer evening, their hearts swelled with a sense of purpose, a journey begun, a story reclaimed. So, here it stands, dear friends, this tale of darkness and light, of shadows and courage. The choice is yours now. Will you carry this truth forward and share it with others? Will you let the light of your story shine bright? You need to subscribe now and hit that bell so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is your moment to show your support. Smash that like button now. Feed the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with 5 friends who desperately need to see this conclusion. Let us keep the light shining together.